Today is the part 4. We started this 4 months ago. Can you believe that? And then today's topic is super interesting and with a lot of new findings. As we go through, you will see why I'm so excited to share this with you. For the people who join us for the first time, my name is Dr. Sherry Zhang. I'm the troublemaker. I started this company a long time ago. And thank you all for being a supporter of our platform, providing scientific knowledge to helping people be healthier, focusing on your nutrition, but really focusing on your metabolic wellness overall. I enjoy creating new knowledge, whether through my academic affiliation or today is through our business setting, and we work with the government also. So I like doing that. And then I think a bottom line is I just like to using scientific knowledge, help myself, help my family, friends, and help my community, which includes you. And thanks to all of you, this is a new series we started last November, but so far has been a very successful program. Thank you all for your feedback. And then we'll have opportunity to collect all of your feedback if you haven't done that. And we want to create this safe place so we can talk about very sensitive health issues, studies, successes and failures, and help each other succeed. And I'm learning from you. Quickly go over last time. Last time was a really fabulous topic, and I thank you for your feedback after that. I think people all think this is very interesting. We shared the package with you. If you any of you need that to be sent again, put your email in the chat box. We're happy to resend them. We have a recap email written by me, and also the link to this the recording from of the last session. I think some of you really like the slides, and you'll be able to access the slides when you access the link. Share your comments with us or questions. I think we also have a one-pager to really collect, summarize what you could do about bettering your circadian clock and not only sleep better, eat better, be leaner, and be happier. So that's what we talked about last time. And I saw several of you shared your information privately. Thank you. So we're going to send that package to your way. Just briefly, again, we started this 4-month programs right before Thanksgiving last year. As you know, weight management, it's not a simple task. It's ongoing, it's complex, it's genetic, biology, environmental. So we want to provide you the depth of knowledge and also in a practical way. I know some of you want more applications and practical tips, and we will work towards that as we develop this program. But all of you have been very positive about the usefulness of the information. So first month we focus on our aging process, which is ongoing, and everybody has faced that on the weight management. Second time we talk about genetic factors, the core competence at GenoPalate, but we also it's not about the genes only, it's about genes and genes expression in response to your environment, which is changing. Third time, which is the last month, we talk about clock, circadian rhythms. This around the clock, people eat around the clock, people have gloomy days. There's not enough contrast between your day and night anymore. This is a global issues. We call the social jet lag epidemic. It's really alarming, affects our generations. They're on their screens all the time, right? So that affects how effective your weight management is. So we shed a light on in that. Today, we're going to talk about the effects of stress on your weight management. And let's dive in. So briefly, I always want to kind of lay it out just to have completely, keep you posted what's going on and what's going to be happening in the agenda. We're going to talk about stress in America, in our society. We're going to talk about stress and its effect on health. We will talk about stress and obesity and weight management because that's a focal point in the series. And then what are we going to do? And I cannot wait to invite you to a conversation I'm going to have today live with a coach who coaches people happiness. How do you turn every day into a day that you deserve? And so Coach Jeffrey Hutchison going to join me in a conversation. So I will start with a pose. As you all know, our pose is simply to help you to think about the right question that's relevant to our context. There's no right or wrong. So I'm going to ask you to share this if you can. So the question is, during the past 12 months, how much stress would you say that you experienced? 12 months in the past, so we're just in January, so about 2023, the year of 2023. In that duration, how much stress would you say that you experienced? Can you see the answers, the choices? So I will read them out here. A lot of stress, a moderate amount of stress, relatively little stress, and almost no stress at all. Oh, did I not press the button? Here we go. All right. Okay. Well, and poll. Please remember your specific answer for yourself. Okay. Again, we can know who's who and who answers what, and that's not the point. Now I'm going to ask you another one. It's a follow-on question. So we know, you know how much you answered or how much you experienced of the last 12 months. Let me ask you a follow-on question. Let me publish it. I think that's what I didn't do right last time. During the past 12 months, how much effect has stress had on your health? In other words, saying, how much do you believe the stress you experienced, little, none, or a lot, moderate, had on your health during the 12-month period, please? I'll give 5 seconds. We'll move on. All right. Okay, you're done? Thank you for that. All right, remember your answer, please. Because sometimes when, like qualitative, quantitative answers, I can't remember. Did I say moderate or did I say a lot, right? So maybe write it down where I have a reason for you to do that. All right, one more, and then we're done with your side of work. I have another question. Yes or no, very binary. During the past During the past 12 months, have you taken any steps to control or reduce stress in your life? Give a second. Almost done? Okay, I think you're done. Remember your results, your answer. Okay. So I read, I don't know if you subscribe to New York Times, there's an interesting report on driving styles in a situation backed by a lot of data and stories on driving in America today. So bottom line is, after decades of decreasing and in accidents and then fatality rates caused by car accidents, it's on rise. It's on the rise again. We implemented seatbelts. That was very helpful in bringing this rates down. But all of a sudden, it's on the rise. And so, what's going on? And then there's a lot of case studies in the article. It's a long article, but it's interesting to read. And then it's also concerning, because my son just started driving, and that's kind of one of the reasons for me to dive in. And then it turned out to be a very interesting, relevant read. Bottom line is, drivers today are very angry. There's a lot of road rage, high amount of them. They are distracted, a lot of texting while driving, and there's a lot of intoxicated joyriders. So all of these kind of lead to the increase. So we're talking about 11% across the board in the accidents and leading to death rates, which is hospitals see that coming through, and then it's been consistent. But that happened during the COVID time. So the psychologists that quoted or part of the story, their opinion is Americans are stressed. So the American Psychological Association, APA, for decades, they will report and they will do surveys, they will report and analyze, and then research again about our psychological well-being. So they just released the 2023 stress report for America. And this time it's concerning in a way that we are a nation recovering from collective trauma. That's what their definition or the statement is. Obviously we're all living through this unprecedented pandemic of health, a crisis, and then in the same time we have wars going on. We have tremendous amount of racism and racial injustice. Financially, inflation is always on top of the minds of everybody, or Wall Street talks, and the climate changing. So I think all of these are really weighing on us. And it's a long report. You can, if you need kill time, and I recommend you to just take a look of it, but don't get stressed by reading through it. I almost get stressed because the data is really alarming. I want to show you a peek, just make a few points here. If we look at different age groups before and after pandemic time, so 2019 is the black bar here, and then the 2023 is the red bars indicates here. Now, what we're showing here are the adults that rate their average stress between 8 and 10. So 8, 9, 10 on the scale of 1 to 10, 1 being little stress and 10 being a lot of stress, similar to what we just talked about. So as you can see, for the age group of 18 to 34, 35, 44, 45, 64, compared to American as a whole, before and after COVID, there's a significant increase in all these three groups. 65 and plus, interestingly, it's pretty stable. 1% difference is actually reversed a little bit, right? And I have my hypothesis, and they have their interpretation. You can have yours, but it makes sense. But it's across the board. It's alarming. Now, if we look at the same phenomenon, but stratified by your roles as a parent or single, well, retired, so kind of your stage of your social stage of your life, where you are, and so on, you can see the same patterns again. Also noticing parents who have 18 or younger minors under their roof for at least half of the time, this is how they define them, have incredibly higher increase in their stress level. Meaning that this is more the prevalence, right? It could be it's the same people, but instead of a quarter of us reporting 8, 9, and 10 on the stress scale, we're talking about 1/3 of the parents cohort, and so on and so forth. Also noticing kind of similar trend, retired individuals, there's not much difference here. So my take on from this as a anecdotal interpretation is I need to retire if I want to lower the stress. So I think my view is a little blocking. Let me put myself up here. Okay, so I want to define stress with myself. What is stress, right? We know it's an unpleasant feeling. It has a lot of acute chronic effects on my body and on my social network when I'm stressed. And so it's unpleasant overall, but what is it? So I pull up, there's so many of the definitions out there. I pull up two from the authority here. One is WHO. It's fairly simple. And the other one is more technical with researchers. So let's review them. One is stress is a state of a worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation. Okay. The second one is a situation in which environmental demands, internal demands, or both tax or exceed the adaptive resources of an individual, social system, or tissue system. That's gotta be academic. It's a lot. But bottom line is, we'll fast forward here so you can see some examples. There's the types of stressors. Now, I want to differentiate stressors versus the stress we experience. That's two different things, okay? Where we have traumatic, big events, global events, environmental things, usually out of your control, such as 9/11, the wars going on. That's one category. All the way to daily hassle, right? We have to commute from home to there. If you live in New York City, it's really a lot of hassling, and then it can be a stressors. And then what if your beloved family members is down for a chronic disease, a chronic condition that needs your care, or is far away, you care about? That's a stressor as well, right? There is there's a website supporting this calculator. I did that just for this talk. Actually, I didn't do this before. But it's interesting that the researchers from 1967 have made this social adjustment, readjustment rating scale called Holmes and Rahe, I think is how to say that. What it basically is measure what kind of life changes, life challenges for each individual associated with specific life event, and how people rate that as coping to that challenge. And for example, the death of your spouse it's not showing here, but it's on the top is 100 units for life change. And then the lowest is 11. That is measures you have a minor speed, right? When you drive, you get a ticket, a minor violation of the law and order. That's 11 to give you that kind of a readjustments. And then everything in between, change of school, even beginning of the school, financial state changes, you have injuries or illness, social activities changes, sleeping habits changes. Although I thought that sleeping changes probably can deserve a little bit more points here. But the bottom line is, if you go through this, they have this questionnaire about what happened during the 12 months, in the past 12 months. And then if these events happen, you have this associated change unit score, and then they will calculate just the sum of all the events scores, the adjustments you have to do numerically, and then you come up with a number. Now, what's relevant in their system is they will back it up with a lot of research and over the time to associate that with your risk of getting ill. So that's the system. So the point here is not to stress ourselves about, oh yeah, this all happens. Oh my God, I'm going to have a high score on this scale. I did, by the way. Based on my honest evaluation, my last 12 years, I'm doomed to be sick. But reality is, I'm reasonably well and happy, as you can see. So I think the question I have for me and us is, why do we have this stress system to begin with? And how can we really understand it so we can utilize it for coping with the stress that we experienced? Again, stressors are always there. Stress is potentially up to us to make it a foe or friend. And I have a lot to show you. So can everyone just think with me, why do we have this stress system in our biology? This is back to evolution, right? We developed this pretty sophisticated stress system. And we're going to talk about hormones. We're going to talk about, the physiology that occurs. Why do we need that in the first place? Anyone? Okay, one word, survival, right? Survival. The first time, think about, and our ancestors deal with a lot of dangers in the wilderness. Imagine right now, a bear or a buffalo, whatever you think is more dangerous, somehow charging at you. I don't know why, but it's charging at you. Your biological system is an acute response. Your brain, in seconds, will tell your body, adrenal glands, pituitary glands in your brain to produce the stress hormones. Dopamine for reward and motivation, epinephrine, norepinephrine. These are the adrenal hormones, adrenalines, as we know, and then they will work very hard to pump our blood flow faster. We're gonna breathe more faster, and then we may even break into sweat. All these, right? When we experience all these are the immediate response. Then if the stress prolonged, if the danger is still in front of us, the belated set of response going to happen. We're talking about minutes to hours. Cortisol, you probably all know, that's the main effector of this. Now, we can talk about this all day long. I do want to, we do have to show you more as I prepared and also get into discussion. When it comes down to chronic exposure to glucocorticoid, such as cortisol, which is the main factors I was talking about, the main stress effector, what happens is the signal is sent by the adrenal glands, which is on the two top tips of our two kidneys, right on the top. And then will produce those hormones, will kick into the bloodstream. But if the exposure or our reaction prolong, you will always have this higher level of the cortisol and among other stress hormones. They do a lot of good things for us. We need them. But when it's too long and too high, the chronic high level, what happens is the receptors on the peripheral tissues, heart, liver, adipose tissue, this is where the obesity comes into play. The cortisol in our blood will come to, they don't do the work directly. They work with receptors, which is located on our different organs to do the job. They will kick in a whole cascade. They will get into cell nucleus. They will turn on genes and turn off genes. It's a lot of events going on. The bottom line is, did you know cortisol gonna tell our body to redistribute our white adipose tissue, so fat tissue, to the abdominal, so central region of our bodies, and that's potentially cause, if that's prolonged, if you already have metabolic issues, it will develop or something called that very detrimental obesity type called the central obesity. Usually, central obesity means we accumulate visceral fat versus under the epithelial cells layer. So that's the fats on our organs, fatty liver, fat can accumulate on our hearts. That's where the problems happen. So cortisol as a stress hormone, we have a lot of them potentially. When we under stress, will redistribute our fatness distribution around our waist, which is can be very detrimental. The second one is they actually help. They would give us the signal so that we actually eat more energy-dense foods, such as high fat and sucrose, high sugar. And again, for survival, that's a good thing because our biology fine-tuned such a way that when danger is in front of us, maybe the bear is still in our backyard, we need to either run or fight or flight, right? We need to do something really dramatic. We probably need the whole body to catch on. And if we're going to fight a bear, we need a lot of energy. So our body is actually very smart for us to kick in that instinct to do those behavior. But today, very rarely we have that situation, but stressors happen. So I hope this rundown gives you some good idea. So this is a picture of something called Cushing syndrome. Cushing syndrome is an extreme situation where someone has too much cortisol in their body. And as we talk about, you can laid out here, cortisol doing all these good stuff for us. It regulate our blood pressure, blood sugar, and helping us to find the foods that are going to help us to cope with situations that actually reduce inflammation. That's why glucocorticoid is one of the key ingredients for anti-inflammatory diseases in the medication. But that's an issue on its own. But in the Cushing syndrome, people use it to study what will happen what can we do to prevent too much cortisol in our body? So briefly, when people have extreme level of this cortisol and diagnosed as a Cushing syndrome, you will have noticing this individual have accumulation of a fat around the belly. We have the person will accumulate fat on her face. I think this is a lady, and then a fat pass between the two shoulders, almost like a lump, and then among other things, the thin legs, so the muscles actually gonna be decreasing in mass, and there's reported bone loss cases as well. And then the people will have bruises easily, so you have a lot of marks on your skin. This is extreme rare situation, but it's reflects a very good disease study case for stress-induced chronic cortisol level. Make sense? All right, I will share all these after, so if you can read, maybe just go through my narrative briefly. Obesity, stress mediated through the GC is the glucocorticoid or cortisol. If it's easier to remember. It's a vicious cycle or vicious circle, if you may, right? So we're talking about the factors there are known genetic factor behind this. Different people cope, react, respond naturally to different stresses differently. You know that. And then we have intoxication. If people have a prolonged smoking and extensive alcohol use, that will be playing a feed into this picture, driving this vicious cycle. Deprivation of sleep, because cortisol as a hormone, they're highly regulated by their, we talk about circadian clock. The hormone is fluctuating in our body, has their own circadian clock if it's healthy. So if we break that, if we don't sleep, if we don't eat the best time, it will be a problem as well. And then mental disorders, there's a lot of depression associated with all of these factors, and that will play a role. And we're talking about endogenous previously, just now, but there's an increasing amount of exogenous medication use of a GC. So that is so prevalent. We're talking about, asthma drug will have GC in there, anti-inflammatory, lupus, and allergy. Some allergy medication will have it. Depressants will have it. So we have this internal exposure, and then we have this artificially made external for reasonable reasons. But at the end of it, we are in this chronic high exposure to stress hormones. Of course, when the stressors come in front of us, our buffalo, our own kind of buffalo, of course, we're gonna get stressed. So I think at least majority of you have the our stress insights report as part of our analysis for your DNA. Utilize it. This is my results. So we have in the middle, it's a pretty colorful slides, but we have brain responses, trigger responses, sleep responses, mood boosting factors, mood driven eating, mood and inflammations, and social response. So 7 insights card, and you can click in and it will tell you all the information, which I give you an example on the left. So on the right side is my kind of dashboard for stress and cortisol. Utilize it. You have it. I know some people joined this, our GenoPalate's family earlier before we give, we kind of re-ramped everything. People pay more to get 3 of them. I asked my business unit to make it easy for you. Take a photo of this and we'll take you to where you can order it. Utilize our code to make it really, really affordable for you. Utilize it because we have it. If you need that again, just email me. So briefly, I want to talk about, okay, stressors are going to be the reality of our life, good or bad. I think it's life. Otherwise, it would be so dull, right? But how we experience, make that into stress that potentially harm us is up to us to a high degree. So let me show you why I can say that. So there is a study, beautiful study, following for 8 years, 30,000 Americans across the country. And they were asked 2 questions I asked you. This is one of the reasons I want to put this into a context. So they asked them, 30,000 individuals, how much stress you experienced during the past 12 months? Do you think they harm your health during the 12 months? And based on result, we're going to talk about the takeaway. They followed them for 8 years, and they started this question at the beginning of the 8 years, and then they follow them the mortality rate. So they find out who had died at the end of 8 years. Okay, so it's an interesting study, but I want to tell you the bad news first. The people who reported for their past 12 months high amount of stress has 43% more chance to die. That's the bad news. But this is a very, very important but. Only when they also think that will harm their health. Okay, so pause for a minute with me, soak this in, because this may save my life or prolong my life and hopefully save some lives in this audience. Stress can cause death only if you believe they will cause death, will harm you. Okay, and of course the premise in this one is you are experiencing a high amount of stress in your life, perceived. We're not trying to say it's not real, it's gotta be real, but how much you experience it, that's one. How much you think it will harm you, that's the second one. Only when this combined will increase that group's death rate. I want you to get it right. Don't get it wrong, okay? Because it's important. And there's another confirmation of that message is the people who experience high stress but doesn't think it will harm them actually have less tendency, less chance to die compared to people reported little experience of stress. Got it? Yeah, I'm happy to repeat that again. So brilliant study and very refreshing message, I think. So this statistical savvy scientists, they did a calculation during that 8 years when they did this study. 182,000 deaths can be prevented if these people experiencing high stress didn't think that will harm their health. That makes 20,000 deaths every year. And they put on the chart is actually we have this will be saving more lives than if we revert homicide, HIV cases, death caused by those, or skin cancer. So it's a lot of lives we can save based on that. All right. Heart is having a lot of receptors for those stress hormones. So because of that, we can cope with the buffalo charging at us in a normal situation. I hope you are. I'm probably a little bit stressed for good reason. So your heart should be in a very relaxed situation. If you see this ring, that's your implicating your or depicting your heart muscle and vessel muscle. It's a relaxed, it's a bigger ring, right? Now, if you are stressed, naturally, your heart muscle is gonna contract to this smaller stream pumping it up quickly. So do all the job that you need to do. Now, when there's a second research group at Harvard, right after the other insightful research and published their data, they did a social stress test of two set of groups. We're talking about more than 800 people in this study. These are adults and they live their life and have a lot of life experiences. What they did is they will challenge them, one group with the social stress test. They ask them to imagine they're gonna do a public speaking when on stage and that sort of thing, and then they can actually challenge them with discouragement, nonverbal kind of a facial expression in the audience as a judge. So they make them heart pounding, breathing, and break into sweat. So, and then they have a way to measure their cardiovascular performance. And that's one group. They don't coach them. They don't do anything, just naturally respond to that. And then there's a mathematical test to check their other performance as well. And the second group, what they did is they're gonna coach them to reappraise how the stress, how their response naturally gonna do to their health. So for example, they're gonna say, you're gonna feel your heart is pounding faster. That is for you to, your body is responding to that to rise up to the challenge to have action, right? It's a very courageous thing to do. And then if you breathe faster, that's where the air, you need more air, so you have a better brain power, so you can think better, right? With all these different coaching, so to speak. And then amazingly, so they changed the cardiovascular performance of, we're talking about the contraction of the muscle on the top, that reflects what happened for the group one. And when they're coached, the second group with, rise up to your challenge, be prepared and think this is a good thing for you. The stress is a good thing for you. Look how relaxed their muscle is. So they actually changed the coaching, a short period of coaching, changed the physiology, the physiological response to the stress they experience. Interesting, right? For one quick note, then we kind of move on to our next program of today's webinar. Any of you know what is oxytocin? It is, some people call it the cuddle hormone. It's the love hormone, right? So oxytocin is make people crave for, a lot of people say I'm a hugger. They probably have that raised when they saw a friend and they crave for that physical contact. That's oxytocin. So people call it the hormone of love. It makes people happy, makes people social. So the idea here, let me give you the punchline, is stress naturally makes us social, okay? Just keep that in mind, and hopefully I will be able to convince you with the evidence. So we know this oxytocin, whether it's a cuddle hormone, is make people social, it's actually a stress hormone. It's very similar to dopamine, very similar to adrenaline, very similar to cortisol we talk about in how they act. But why we have it, what we knew is on our heart, in our heart tissue, there are lots of oxytocin receptors. We talk about receptors of cortisol to make the central obesity. Similarly, we actually have receptors on our heart to receive oxytocin signals. And so that will make us to regenerate, heal our heart tissue when we're in the stress situation. That makes us resilient. And another psychological study also shown there's a third study. It's also amazing, showing put people under stress situation or their way of assessing that, and then they ask their another question: did you help your family, friends, or your community in a tangible way in the past 12 months? And then they follow them and measure the mortality rate like we did before. I hope you're already familiar with the whole study design. What happened is people and also asking their stress level, of course. So the people experiencing high level of stress will be associated with a higher 30% of mortality risk, so death. But guess what? The people who tangibly help their family, friends, and community in the past 12 months is actually eliminated. Their chance of dying is eliminated by the giving, by helping people. So that's oxytocin's work and also our system work. What they really tell us is our heart, our system is programmed so that when the challenges arises, if you are courageous, if you are prepared yourself, if you choose to face up the challenge with brevity, and you can turn that into something doesn't harm you, doesn't harm your health at all. And also, we are social animals. This is the one of the most beautiful manifestation from the science evidence that stress makes us social. Stress makes us want to reach out for help. And also, we just saw that when you're giving tangibly, helping others, it will make you happier and healthier. So I'll share all of these. We can, you can read this later. Now, my question is, stressors is everywhere. That's a reality. How can we be happy at the end of the day? Yes, de-stress, tune into our biology, cope with it with attitude, and so on and so forth. But on the flip side, we want to be happy. That's one of the freedom and happiness is the two fundamental human rights. We deserve that. So it is my big pleasure to welcome to the stage, virtual stage with me, Coach Jeffrey Hutchison. He is an artist of life. He is actually a martial artist, high level, and massage therapist, high level. But the same thing, what caught my eye is he actually coach individuals and groups to be happy. So I cannot wait to have a conversation with him. So let me change the settings so we can see. Hi, Jeffrey. Are you here?
Yes, I am here. How you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm happily stressed.
That's one way to put it.
Yes, yes. So welcome. You are an author. You have this really interesting book title. I can't wait to hear all of it from you. So please tell us, who are you? Why doing what you're doing?
Well, I am doing this because this is what it means for me to be me. You know, with everything that you've said here, I was a product of our world like that for as far as stressing out over so many different things. And for as far as my life was concerned, I was living life from too much of a painful spot, too much of a painful place, because I didn't recognize what was going on here. So with everything that you shared about what stress does and how we are living our lives the way that we do for as far as our thinking and feeling, this is what I was doing. I was living my life from a painful space, but then I made one choice because I was thinking like a victim. And so my victim living was, the world is out to get me. And so that kept me in fight or flight, that kept me in a stressful state, that kept me in places that it just didn't feel good. But then I changed one word in that sentence, turned everything around for me. started my journey on a different path. The new sentence was, the world is out to gift me. Now, because I said, what's the gift in this moment? It opened me up to what could I learn from this space? What could I learn from this place? Okay. And then that gave me new answers. You know, my painful way of living was a painful personality, but now to have a happy way of living, well, I now have a happy personality. So what does that mean? That means to change our reality, we have the freedom to change our personality. You don't have to believe everything that you think, especially if it's detrimental. Do you know how powerful you truly are? Listen, you are so free that you can choose bondage. Okay, people get stressed out because they choose to. Now, yes, we were conditioned by that, by our caregivers, our people that were raising us. Society will tell us all of these things, but they don't tell you that you choose to feel how you feel. Sherry, I can make you a sandwich. I can make you a beautiful dinner. I can't make you feel anything. You look at what I do. You decide, because he did this or because I see this, I'm choosing to feel this way. You're doing that. It's not me. You're making a judgment, and then you choose how you feel. Hey, everybody, guess what? Okay, I'm going to say this, and you can't unlearn this. Nothing has to change so that you can choose to feel good. You can feel.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, you can choose to feel good despite what's going on. It's just amazing. So people can recognize what they have in that personal power, in that personal choice, that they are the ones that's responsible for how they choose to feel, for as far as feeling good, and you're responsible for how you choose to feel if you're stressing out. It's okay that you're doing it, but just know that you're doing it, and you have the power to change it as you see fit.
Love it. So tell us a little bit about your journey, because it's so interesting, right? You are a martial artist, and you tell me something I cannot unlearn either. You said, Sherry, I'm so good to hurt people with my hands. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you're, don't want to steal your thunder, but just one thing throw out there. You told me you have a master sensei, we call it, teacher, right? Mm-hmm. You're a martial artist and you respect so much, and he hurt you and then he fixed you, and you learn so much through that process. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was the fact that I was using the martial arts as a way to manage the anger in my life that I was choosing at the time. I had a disconnect between my head and my heart, and so I was using the martial arts to control that, if you will. And again, my martial arts instructors, I was lucky to have a martial arts instructor that recognized that, and he helped me bridge that gap between the two. You know, so in my moments of choosing anger, I was recognizing I wasn't loving myself. And so, again, once I was really good at hurting people with my hands. And so he kicked my butt and he fixed my butt. So after that moment, I'm like, Bill, how come my shoulder doesn't hurt anymore? What did you do? And he showed me that there's a healing side to the martial arts that it just wasn't taught here in the West. And so within that point, I was like, can you teach me? And he's like, yes, I can teach you. And so then my wonderful journey just kept going on and on. So here's another lesson that the martial arts taught me in a moment of my using it. So we're sparring. And the whole point of sparring is to practice your techniques, but also protect your partner that you're working with. And so I'm working with my partner. We're sparring good. Bam! I hit him. And I didn't even know I did it. And he had a bloody nose and he's on the ground. My teacher sends me to the corner and he says, think about what you did. And I sat there and I looked and I was hurting and upset because I hurt my friend. And so as I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, feel terrible. But in that moment of exercising what happened here, it was, hey, Jeffrey, do you remember that you said you were going to start to love yourself more? I said, yeah. And so do you realize that when you hurt someone and you hit someone, you actually hurt yourself at the same time? Oh, really? Okay, okay. I get it. I get it. So the act of choosing to be a victim, the act of being aggressive, now unnecessarily aggressive, because there is a time and space for that type of energy. It's just how you utilize it. In that context, it was like, okay, so if I'm going to start loving myself more, I'm going to stop putting myself in situations to where I have to physically defend myself. And that was one piece of how my ego was showing me, yes, that's the truth of that. That's how we can get into a more peaceful and better state. Because the fight or flight energy, yes, if you are being physically attacked, that's what that energy is there for, to preserve your life, to defend yourself, to get out of that situation. When you're out of that situation, well, the only time we ever feel fight or flight or stress again is that if we think about something and we generate the stress. Hear what I said there? We think about something and then we generate the emotional, stressful feeling. It's not actually happening to us other than a thought. By our thinking, we are wiring our brain and we trigger a stress flood. Now, we can also, as I was learning, think a positive thought, choose how I feel, and release the endorphins of feeling good emotions. Every human being has this power. Every human being, from their first breath till their last, will never lose this power. So how healed will you be when you believe yourself being so sick?
I love it. You have so many catchphrases. That's why you have to be an author. I remember your friends keep telling you, write this down, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
So you did. So can I just ask you, you came from that place. You got yourself out, meaning angry, stressed. We talk about that could lead to death by science. It's fact. So how can other people do that? I guess one question to stage up for that is why people are so angry, understanding all these stressors we just talked about. There's social injustice, there's climate changes, there are wars, there are financial. We got that. And there internally, you can have your own life events happen to you, right? But that's life. So I guess maybe can you share your wisdom, your study after all these years, helping people, helping yourself to be happy, and what's the causality to it, and how can we utilize the knowledge of that to treat ourselves, to heal ourselves?
Yeah, with that, it's understanding that, your life is going to boil down to 4 words. If you say so. So now, as I say that, I'm showing you just how powerful you truly are. You choose to get angry. You choose to be happy. Life is either 2 things, something to feel good about or something to feel bad about. How you go about that is just the simple conditioning, again, that you learned from other people. Now, it doesn't matter when you learn it, how you learned it. Nothing can override the power of now and how you choose to feel in this moment. Listen, stressful things, painful things can happen. Okay? In this moment, like say, painful thing. I stub my toe. And in the stubbing of my toe, because the furniture likes to move when the lights are off at night, I stub my toe. And then so now my toe is hurting for, let's just say, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, my toe is truly hurting. I've, relaxed a minute for a few minutes. After 10 minutes, the pain is gone. Now, I don't have to discuss with you for the next 3 weeks how I stubbed my toe on that fateful night. That's suffering. Suffering is a choice. Look at I've made things more playful for me too. It's not like I don't ever get angry again, but I tell you, my anger gets a lot less than the way that I used to be angry. Now, when I get angry, it's just like, oh man, I forgot. Okay, I chose anger. I'm on the angry roller coaster. And if you've ever been on a roller coaster, you know those things don't last long. So just go ahead and ride it out and get off of the roller coaster when you're done, when you're totally complete. You know, it's just like, oh, I'm angry. Oh, damn it. Oh, here we go. Okay, just raise your hands up and just ride the roller coaster out. It's totally fine from that point. But then just know when you're done being angry, you can choose to be happier. You can choose to be easier. Here's the thing about this. Accept what's going on in your life. It's okay for you to choose how you're choosing. It totally is. You don't have to be something that you're not, then to be better than who you truly are. Right now, you are totally perfect. There's nothing wrong with you. Know that, and then you can change, and it makes things easier because you can change. You'll change easier as you love yourself, as you are exploring how you can choose to feel better in life. So if you're feeling a negative emotion, what's the emotion? And you can go, what's the exact opposite emotion that I choose to feel? Like for me, one time it was being disempowered because I felt someone treating me poorly and whatever, and I was just feeling bad in that moment. And so I asked myself that question, what's the exact opposite of this disempowered emotion? Well, then what came to me was feeling empowered. And so now disempowered became translucent, and then empowered was behind it. I could see it. And so let's just say disempowered was at my front door. I opened the front door, disempowerment came into the house and started to go out the back door. Empowerment came and stayed in the house. Because I made it okay for me to feel what I was feeling, because I accepted how I was feeling in a moment and made it okay, that gave me the keys to allow that to dissolve and to find the answer. That gave me the power to see the problem dissolve, and there lied the answer. The answer is never away from the problem if you understand the energy of how you created the problem.
If you say so.
Yeah,
Love it.
Absolutely.
Experience pain, part of life. Deal with it, write it out, but don't let yourself suffer.
Right? Yeah, because it's all a choice. It's totally a choice. You do not have to suffer. Painful things happen. Yes, suffering is a choice. If you're not experiencing the actual painful thing in real time, anything after that is a choice in suffering. And hey, my friends, again, you don't have to believe everything you think.
Absolutely. We can talk all day long, but I know everybody are busy. Yes, so I saw some questions coming through. We will send a copy of this recording as we always do. So Jeffrey, just maybe spend a few more minutes with me here with us. Tell us about your book, the second book. I know you're working on the third, and I will definitely will read all of them. The second one caught my eye because it's very catchy. Also, I like hot chocolate. So what it's about, and what are the top 3 tips, if you can give us a little, sneak peek to help us be happy.
Yeah. Hot chocolate happiness. That's a play off of one of the nicknames that I have. So yes, my nickname is Hot Chocolate. I'm saying that to you straight in your face. That's true. That's what some people call me, and that's how people recognize me. It's totally fun because there are thousands of Jeffs on this planet, but there's only one Hot Chocolate, baby. And so that's who I am. In that essence, it's that playful piece. And and again, if the things that I've shared with you thus far, my book is about, again, how we choose to feel happy, how we can choose to be happy within our lives. There's tools in there. There's ways that we can challenge the things that we have thought and believed of how we can go about life and what we do. And it's giving you tools to know that here's how you can choose to be happy. Again, as I share this with you, it's understanding the fact that nothing has to change so that you can choose to feel good. But I'm revealing to you, here's what you're already doing, and here's how you can change it. It's acknowledging the fact that you're already doing these things for as far as choosing to feel bad or choosing to feel good. If you take full responsibility for that, you can change everything in your life. But for some people, blame is easier than responsibility if they're not ready to face the fact that they're causing their sickness. You are the greatest engineer of your despair in life, as you are the greatest designer of your bliss. It is you all day, every day. And so my book talks about those things. It talks about, how we go about our relationships and dealing with people, and how, we were told certain things, and, the fact that, okay, so if you and I were in a relationship, male-female dynamic, okay, that for me being a male, there's a certain thing that I'm supposed to be doing. For you being the female, there's a thing that you're supposed to be doing. So now, if those things that we're supposed to be doing are in alignment with our personality, great. But if they're not, going to be a conflict. And so in that dynamic of, look, every day, every moment, I would be looking at you and say, how are you showing up to me today? Who do you want to be today? And I get to choose to love you as you are, as you show up, as you choose to be, instead of formulating an idea about who I think you are and then being upset because you are not my fantasy. That's on me. Because if I can't see you and love you for who you are, if I'm angry with you, well, that's on me. You haven't done anything. I have an image of who I think you should be, but if that's not who you truly are, my fault. It's had nothing to do with you. And so looking at that dynamic of how we choose to relate with each other, again, I'm controlling how I choose to think, how I choose to feel. And so now that means you're off the hook. When I was younger, I didn't have as many words as I'm sharing with you now. But one of the things I can remember saying in my young adult life, in my relationships, was that, okay, I'm going to take care of me for you. You take care of you for me. So now when we get together, we're coming together in joy. We know we've got our stuff taken care of, and I don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything, and we can be playful and joyful together. That's what I had in the beginning, of learning this stuff and figuring out how to allow my life to work rather than trying to make my life work.
Right. I love it. Thank you. So yeah, go read Jeffrey's book, connect with Jeffrey. I think you have your website, right? It's just your name and .com, jeffreyhatterson.com.
Yeah,
reach out to me. I promise you we'll have to invite him back to have, so we have experience. We can experience his whole charm, whole program to be stay happy. I enjoy every minute I spend with him. So any last final wisdom words for the audience?
Sure, guys. Okay. Remember this, in the Eastern teachings, inflammation is the base root of all disease in the body. Inflammation is caused by stress. So now there's the nutritional stress, mental stress, emotional stress, your environmental stressors and factors that you can control. And there's some that are just out of your control. But remember, at the end of the day, you get to choose how you feel all day, every day. You can be happy because you said so. And again, your life is going to boil down to those 4 words, if you say so. So now just check what you're saying. Check how you're feeling. Life is good, and so are you guys.
Love it. So I'm sure everybody are applauding you. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thank you for spending your life to make this world a little bit happier. And we appreciate you. So any questions for me or Jeffrey? We'll stay on for a couple minutes. In the same time, I would like to ask you to help us make our program better. So I have a QR code for the survey. This will tell us, how do you think about the current? Do we need to do a recap session? And also, what's the next and upcoming. Thank you all for the ones that already provided feedback. We do have updated one question about recap, so please just go through. It takes a minute. And I also provide a link. It's a type form, very easy and fun to do, actually. So I really appreciate if you do that. I'll maybe just right now stay on for a minute and provide a feedback. So we want to make this even greater for you. Any questions you can put on either Q&A or the chat. No? We learned how do we deal with stress? How to be happy? Hey, our job is done. Right. So last word will be, thank you, Jeffrey. Last word will be, when your imagined buffalo coming at you, and just think about what we talk about today. Stress makes you social. Our stress system makes you resilient. So rise up to that challenge. And it's actually, you're going to have a shield to defend you from anything that can harm you. Okay? So I expect all of us will live happily with strong hearts until 90 years old because of this talk. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. All right. We'll analyze your input, and then we will watch for our email for the next series and follow up and recap. And appreciate your time. This is GenoPalate. Dr. Sherry Zhang. Thank you, Jeffrey, our guest, and I'll see you next time.
Till next time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.